Hello and welcome to Olga Poltava Crochet channel. Today's tutorial is for a beanie hat worked with regular and elongated single crochets in two different colors. In my previous video, I shared the tutorial for this scarf, which I made with Impeccable yarn from Loops and Threads. I really like the scarf and I still had some of this yarn left, so I decided to crochet a matching hat. Here, all three of my boys are modeling it for you. I think these are such precious pictures and they melt my heart. I crocheted this hat for myself, so I used the measurements of my own head, but as you can see, it also fits my teenage sons. I'm not writing a pattern, but only making a video tutorial. And that's because even though it's a hat, not a garment, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of project. Someone might be battling cancer and they need a chemo hat, so it needs to be smaller in size. Someone might be blessed with thick, voluminous hair, so they need a bigger hat. Someone might want to make this hat for a child. And of course, not everyone will be crocheting with the same yarn and hook size I did. And not everyone has the same crochet tension. There are so many variables, and I don't think I can write a stitch-by-stitch pattern that would accommodate all of them. So I thought the best thing I can do is show you in the tutorial how you can make adjustments and crochet a hat of your custom size. So in this tutorial, I will use my own measurements and give you stitch count for my size, but every step along the way, I will explain how to make adjustments. The circumference of my hat is 21.25 inches, and the circumference of my finished hat is 22 inches. The height of the hat is 8.5 inches. My gauge was 4 stitches equal 1.5 inches. And I must say that this hat is slightly elongated. When I wear it, the crown of my hat is over here, and the crown of the hat sits a bit higher. But of course, this can be adjusted. If you want to make your hat so that it sits at the crown of your head exactly, you can make the hat a bit shorter. I started making decreases over here after 5 stripes of green color. If you want to make your hat shorter, you can start making the decreases after 4 stripes of green color. I will show you how to make the decreases while maintaining the integrity of the stitch overall, and I will show you how I spaced my decreases. But you can experiment and space yours differently. The way you space the decreases will affect the overall shape of the hat. Some people have been asking me for more hat tutorials, and I had made some in the past, but somehow hat tutorials don't seem to be very popular on my channel. I try to make the kind of tutorials that the majority of my audience would want to watch. So when scarf tutorials get views and activity, I make more scarf tutorials. If most of my viewers would be interested in hats, I'll start making more hat tutorials. So just express what your interests are, either in the comments or by liking or hyping my video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Happy crocheting and happy holidays! For my hat, I start with 64 chains, and I'm crocheting with the hook size H 5 millimeters. So I make 64 chains loosely. Here I have 64 chains, and I'm going to join them into a ring with a slip stitch. And I need to be very careful not to twist the chain. So into the first chain over here, I make a slip stitch. And now my chain is joined into the ring. What I do next is I try this ring onto my head to see that it's not too tight. And this is what you are going to do if you are making a custom size. Once you chain and made a ring, try it on. If you need to add more stitches, add more chains. If you need to remove some, remove. Just remember that the total amount of the chains must be even. So you can start with any amount of chains as long as it is even. And you need to make sure this chain, the ring, fits around your head, not too tight, but also not too loose. Now I'm going to make one row of single crochets. I start with one chain. I'm going to crochet directly into the chains, and that's because at the end I might have to make a row of single crochets into this chain on the other side as well. I don't know at this point, so it really doesn't matter. Even if I crochet into the back humps, I'm still going to be able to do that, but I'm just going to go ahead and crochet into the chains directly. So this is the first stitch, and this is where I make a single crochet. And then into each chain around, I make a single crochet. And there were 64 chains in my ring, so I will end up with 64 single crochets. Here I made a round of single crochets, and again I need to make sure the ring is not twisted. And here I join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Now I'm going to put in a stitch marker so this loop doesn't come undone. And I'm gonna go ahead and try this on once again, just to make sure that it fits me well. Once I know that it fits me well, I can continue crocheting my hat. And to do that, I'm going to add the green color. I'm going to switch the colors to green. In the scarf, I was changing the colors every 2 rows, but over here, I'm only gonna start with 1 row of single crochets in the brown color, and later you will see why. I'm going to undo this single crochet with which I joined this round, and I'm gonna use the green yarn to make that single crochets. I folded the green yarn like this. The short yarn tail is about 6 inches long. Now I insert the hook as to make a slip stitch, but I make that slip stitch with this green yarn. I pull the brown one tighter and I adjust the yarns over here. I make 1 chain with the green yarn, and now I will continue crocheting with the green yarn. Into this first stitch, I make a single crochet, and now I'm going to make a single crochet into each single crochet around. So I will make a round of single crochets with this green yarn, and there will be 64 single crochets, the same as in the previous round. Here I made a round of single crochets in green color, and I joined this round with a slip stitch into the first single crochet. And now I'm going to make 1 more round of single crochets in green. So I make 1 chain into the first single crochet. I make a single crochet, and then I simply make a single crochet into each single crochet around. And here's the end of the second round with the green color. Now I'm going to join this round and also change the color to brown again. And I did not cut off the brown yarn before, so I'm gonna continue crocheting with the brown yarn. And this single crochet with which I'm going to join the round, I make with the brown yarn like this, and then adjust the green yarn, 1 chain, and now I will continue crocheting with the brown yarn. Into the first single crochet, I make a single crochet, and now I'm going to make the elongated single crochet. So this is the next stitch, but I'm not gonna be making single crochet here, not into the stitch below, but 3 rows below. So right here where this single crochet, the green one, was made. So again, this is the next stitch, this is the stitch below it, the second one, and this is the third stitch below. And that's where I insert the hook and make this elongated single crochet. Into the next single crochet right here, I make a regular single crochet. And now again, I will make the elongated single crochet. This is the next stitch, this is the second stitch below, and this is the third stitch below. And over here, I make the elongated single crochet. And you can see over here how they alternate. There is the brown one here, then the green one. Brown one, so the next one's gonna be green one, which means I'm making the single crochet into the top 2 loops of the next single crochet. And that's how I continue crocheting. This is the next stitch below, right here. I make a elongated single crochet. This is the next stitch, and I make a regular single crochet there. So if you watched my scarf tutorial, you are already familiar with this pattern, and this is how I work it in the round. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this round, and I'll see you at the end of this round. Here I am at the end of this round. There's only one stitch left, and I make it as the elongated single crochet. And the first stitch over here is a regular single crochet, and I just join with a slip stitch. So this round is finished. And in this round, I have alternating regular single crochet and elongated single crochet. The next round is simple. It's a round of single crochets. I start with one chain into the first stitch, first single crochet. I make a single crochet, and then I simply make a single crochet into each stitch around. I finished the second round of single crochets with the brown yarn, and now I'm switching the color and joining this round with a slip stitch, but I make that slip stitch with the green yarn. And then I adjust the yarns over here. I make one chain, single crochet into the first stitch, and then single crochet into each stitch around. So the pattern already begins to repeat from here. Now I will work 2 rounds of single crochets with the green color, then I will switch to the brown and work a round of these single crochets where I alternate working a regular single crochet and an elongated one. So that's what I'm going to do until I crochet about this much, and then I'll show you how to start shaping the hat. Here is what I have so far. As you can see, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds with the green color. The last row that I made over here was a row with the brown color, alternating regular single crochets and elongated single crochets. If you want a headband, you can make one more round of single crochets with the brown and fast enough. However, if you want a hat, here is what we're gonna do next. We're gonna start making decreases so that the hat narrows towards the top or towards the crown. And here is how to do it. So in the next round, I'm gonna start making decreases, and I will make decreases by working 2 single crochets together. I start with one chain into the first single crochet. I make a single crochet, and into each one of the next 5 single crochets, I make a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And with this first single crochet that I made here, that's the total of 6. So let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 single crochets, and over the next 2 stitches I'm going to make a decrease, and that is 2 single crochets finished together. So I insert the hook, draw up a loop, and keep it on the hook, and into the next stitch I insert the hook, draw up a loop, do yarn over, and finish the stitch. So I made 2 single crochets finished together. Now into each one of the next 6 single crochets, I work 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And over the next 2 stitches again, I make a decrease. I work 2 single crochets finished together. And that's how I continue this round. So 6 single crochets and then 2 single crochets finished together. Then again, 6 single crochets and 2 single crochets finished together. And here I am at the end of the round. Over here, I just worked 6 single crochets. I have 2 stitches left, and I make 2 single crochets finished together. And then I join the round. And you can see, well, maybe you cannot see on the camera, but actually it did become more narrow over here because of all those decreases that we made. The math for my hat worked out perfectly. Depending on with how many stitches you started, you will end up with a different number. What is important here is that the total number of the stitches after this round with decreases is even or divisible by 2. So you need to count the stitches, and if your number of stitches is odd, what you're gonna do is you're gonna remove one decrease. So if I had to remove one decrease, I would undo this 2 single crochets finished together and finish them separately like that. But in my case, it worked out perfectly so that the total amount of stitches is even. In my case, it is 56 stitches. So again, what is important in this round is that you end up with an even amount of stitches. If your amount of stitches is odd, then simply remove one decrease and work them as 2 single crochets. And that will give you 1 extra single crochet, and that will bring your total amount of stitches to an even number. Now again, I changed the color. So I make the joining slip stitch with the green. I start with 1 chain and I make 2 rounds of single crochets, the same way as I did before. And here I finished 2 rounds with green. There were no decreases with the green color. So the amount of stitches is the same. It is 56 single crochets. And now again, I switch the color, and the next round will be alternating a regular single crochet and elongated single crochet. So 1 chain and then a regular single crochet and then an elongated one, a regular and an elongated one, and so on. Here I finished this round alternating regular single crochet and elongated single crochet, and in the next round I'm gonna make decreases again, and I'm gonna do it the same way as I did before. I'm gonna work 6 single crochets and then 2 single crochets finished together. So I start with 1 chain into the first stitch, single crochet, and then 5 more single crochets. So over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochets, and over the next 2 stitches I make 2 single crochets finished together. Then again 6 single crochets, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 single crochets finished together. And that's how I'm gonna finish this entire round. Here I finished this round of decreases. I counted my stitches and the total is 49 stitches. But remember what I was saying before, that the amount of stitches must be even. So I'm going to adjust here. I undo this last decrease, 2 single crochets finished together, and I finished them as regular single crochets. So now the total amount of the stitches in this round is 50. Again, your number of stitches might be different. Just make sure it's an even amount of stitches. And now I will change the color to green and work 2 rounds of green without any decreases. So simply making a single crochet into each stitch around. I made 2 rounds of single crochets with the green yarn. Now I changed the color and I make a round of alternating a regular single crochet and then an elongated single crochet, a regular single crochet and an elongated single crochet. Now the next round is a round with decreases again, but in this round decreases are gonna be more frequent. So I make 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then I make a decrease or 2 single crochets finished together. Again, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease or 2 single crochets finished together. So that's how decreases are worked in this round. I finished this round, and the total amount of stitches in my hat in this round is 40. So now I will work 2 rounds of single crochets with the green, and then I will work 1 round of alternating single crochet, elongated single crochet, elongated single crochet with the brown yarn, and I'll see you there. Now the next round is a round of decreases again, and decreases here are gonna be even more frequent. So I make 2 single crochets, that's 1, 2, and now I make a decrease or 2 single crochets finished together. Again, 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and a decrease, and so on. And now the amount of stitches in this round is 30. And I change the color, and now I will make 2 rounds of single crochets with the green color. And here I worked 1 round of the brown. And now again, I'm making a round with decreases. I start with 1 chain, make a single crochet, and then a decrease. Again, I make a single crochet, and then a decrease. A single crochet, and a decrease. And in this round I have 20 stitches, but it doesn't really matter anymore because I'm only gonna make 1 more round of decreases, and then all the stitches will be pulled together. So I continue with the brown color. I make 1 chain, and over the next 2 stitches I make a decrease, and that is 2 single crochets finished together. And then again, over the next 2 stitches I make a decrease or 2 single crochets finished together. So in this round, it's all about decreases. I only make 2 single crochets finished together all the way around. And here I finished this round, joined it with a slip stitch. Now I'm going to cut off the yarn tail about 16 inches long. And over here I fasten off. And now I'm going to pass this yarn tail through all the stitches on the top like this. And then through the very first stitch again. So I have this little hole on the top of the hat. I'm gonna pull this yarn tight and close that hole. And this is how the top of the hat is closed and formed. Now I'm going to use a tapestry needle and secure this yarn tail on the top of the hat. And I'm actually gonna do it on the wrong side of the hat. So I'm gonna turn it, pull tight again, and turn it to the other side, to the wrong side. And over here, I pull it tight, and I make several stitches to secure it. And then I also will need to deal with all the loose ends as well. And here is the finished hat. Right now it fits me really well, but perhaps in the future as I wear it, it will stretch and it will not fit me so well around the circumference over here. In that case, what I'm going to do is I will make a round of single crochets into the starting chain over here with the same kind of decreases as what we made in the hat. So I'll attach yarn over here and then I work maybe 7 single crochets and then make a decrease, 2 single crochets finished together, then again 7 single crochets and a decrease, and that would make this part over here a bit tighter and give it a better fit. So if you end up with a hat that feels like it is too big around the circumference, that's how you can adjust that.